Good morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast, contractors, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. We are here in collaboration with Contractor Plus to give you the tools, the tactics, the techniques that you need to grow yourself and ultimately your contracting business. Well, I'm really excited today to share a little story with you, and it's a story of a trip that I took last week with my family. My wife, which is probably similar to a lot of your wives, is a Disneyland fanatic. That's right. At night, she either watches cat videos on YouTube or she's looking at Disneyland tips and tricks. Like there is nothing in between. I'm looking at ways to scale a business. She's looking at small furry friends and a mouse with big ears. Now, it's not a bad thing, but it's just the reality of the situation. In fact, that's where we went on our honeymoon a few years ago, 23 years ago. But if you're here live, go ahead and drop your name, where you're from, your business name in the chat, and we'll make sure that we shout you out. Share who you are with the world. Why? Because we want to make sure that you guys are taken care of here. Anyway, back to my story. So this weekend, we go down Thursday in the morning. We get there about, because of the time change, about 8 o'clock, 8:30. By the time we get to Disney and get in, it's about 10 o'clock. Here's the issue. Tanner, we see you. Tanner Barnes, welcome. Appreciate you being here. By the time we get to the gates for Disney, it is literally like pouring rain. Not a little sprinkle, not a light drizzle, but it is pouring rain. Now, my wife, being a planner, God bless her, she gets us all little rain ponchos. And so we're wearing our little rain ponchos. But I'm telling you, the rain ponchos after a while did nothing. I was literally soaked all the way up past my knees. Shoes, socks, everything completely soaked. We got Reynaldo Villarreal, welcome from Dallas, Texas. Appreciate you being here. So we are soaked in a park and the park's still open. There's still rides that are open. There's still people walking around. And so, of course, my wife saying, hey, like we got 3 days. We got to make this thing happen. Let's roll. We start going through the park. We start hitting these rides and this ride and that ride. And we're going through this. And I'm looking around and realizing that there's a whole lot of people here that are doing the same thing that they would be doing, whether it was raining, snowing, or sunshine. The same thing. Tanner says, Michigan land specialist coming from southeastern Michigan. Again, welcome. So the issue that I had was an understanding of what's happening here. For all intents and purposes, like they were taking our money for us to spin around on wheels or go up and down roller coasters or sing little songs or whatever the thing was, right? They were taking our money to be able to do this. And I was looking around and realizing that regardless of the weather, the machine ran the exact same way. I know this because the next 2 days it wasn't raining. A little chilly, but it wasn't raining. So for 3 days, 2 different parks, the machine ran the same. You had to go through security first. Security was always the same. They had a bag. They were opening it up with a flashlight. They had gloves on. Then you had to go through a metal detector. They scan your tickets the same way every single time. Scan your ticket, look at your face, make sure you're the same person, boom, let you in. Every ride was the exact same way. They would let a certain number of people onto the ride, wait for the next vehicle to show up, same number of people, ride after ride after ride, every 10 to 15 seconds. Getting onto a ride was the same every single time. Getting off the ride was the same every single time. Why? Like, why is it the same every single time? And then why do we keep going back? My wife and I have been married 23 years. We've gone to Disneyland at least 2 times every year since we got married. Why do we keep going back if it's the same thing every single time? It's because they make that experience the same every single time, right? And they make it a higher level experience for the people around them. Now, think about this. Whether you agree with or don't agree with who Disney is and what they do, that's not part of the conversation. I want to look at them from a business perspective, right? Because think about this. They have to be able to have a hiring process in place where they're able to bring in people, train them up to do a job a certain way every single time. And yes, we did have the churros, which, by the way, they have all kinds of crazy churros, like a carrot cake churro. They had another chocolate covered churro. They had a strawberry shortcake churro. delicious. Absolutely delicious. We got Anthony from Colorado. Appreciate you being here. We've got Martin from LA. Appreciate you being here. Anthony from Montrose, Colorado. Montrose, same thing, right? Appreciate you being here. So I say this because we are all business owners, right? The problem that we have as contractors is we somehow think that we're smarter than the system. We somehow think that we're smarter than everyone else. We somehow think that we have a better way of doing things, which may or may not be the case. But let's just, for the sake of argument, say you're wrong. Okay. There's only a certain number of ways to frame a house. There's only a certain number of ways to put shingles on a roof. There's only a certain number of ways to wire a house, plumbing, landscaping. Like I could go on and on. There's a certain number of ways. You may have your way, and it may be slightly better than the other guy, but the issue is it's the same across the board, right? So if it's the same across the board when it comes to fulfilling work, why is it not the same across the board to getting people to do the work the same way? Right? Why do we make it more complicated than it needs to be? Jonathan, we got Johnny and Jason, J&J Project Innovation from Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome. Why is it that we make it harder than it needs to be? And by the way, I'm speaking to myself as well. So the problem is not necessarily in what we're doing, right? We understand what we're doing. The issue comes in, how are we getting it done? So I want to give you a couple of examples of this. And if you couldn't figure it out yet, today's conversation is all around people. The people that you have around you, right? Your employees, if you will, your partners, if you will. I want you to think about this. Google. We all use Google. You guys are paying them for pay-per-click. Congratulations. Google, their co-founder, Larry Page is his name. So Larry Page, in 2017, so not so many years ago, 7 years ago, approved or rejected all 6,500 people that Google hired. Mind you, they have 85,000 people on 6 continents. 85,000 people, 6 continents. He approved all 6,500 hires. 6,500. Okay? Richard Fairbank. You don't know who he is? That's okay. He owns Capital One. You might have his card, right? So Capital One has 50,000 employees. And he says this. He says, at most companies, people spend 2% of their time recruiting and 75% managing their recruiting mistakes. Wow. Think about that for a minute. Alex, welcome. Row Construction from New York. Appreciate you being here. Think about that for a minute. 2% in hiring and training, 75% managing their mistakes. Now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you got a team, you know what it's like. Hey, this is what I need you to do. They nod their heads. They say yes. They give you the thumbs up. You leave. You come back. You end up having to redo the thing that they did because they didn't do it the way that it should have been done. Okay? So what's the issue? The issue is we don't understand what people mean to a business. Tanner, appreciate you being here. First live. Welcome, my brother. We don't appreciate and understand what people mean. Joel's here from Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome as well. Because if we understood what people meant to a business, then we would spend more time on our people. Let me repeat that. If we understood what people meant to our business, we would spend more time on our people. Here's the raw, ugly, honest truth. You will never be able to take time away from your business until you hire somebody to be able to do the thing that you're doing right now. I call it the 2-week test. If right now I gave you a ticket and hotel for 2 weeks in Cancun, Mexico, all expenses paid, how many of you could actually take advantage of that? How many of you could be like, yep, the business will continue to run the same and I'll keep making money, except now I'll be doing it from the beach? How many of you guys tell yourself that, but you would be on your phones or your laptops the entire time? How many of you would really, really want to do that, except truth is it's not going to happen because you know that as soon as you turn your back on your business, something's going to go wrong. If we know that this is the issue, or these are the issues that we're dealing with, why do we not spend time addressing them, doing something about it so that we don't have to deal with it again? The other day, I was talking to an owner of a rain gutter company, and year before last, he did 1.4 million. Last year, he did 750. I was like, was there a lack of leads? He said, nope. Was there a lack of work? He said, nope. I said, well, why did your business almost shrink in half? He said, because I got rid of all my employees. Wow. What a powerful, powerful statement. I got rid of all my employees. And we both knew what he was talking about. He had the wrong people in the wrong seat. He had people that he was babysitting instead of empowering, but ultimately it was costing him more time and energy and money. And so he just got rid of them. His margins actually stayed the same, but he had less stress. Now, I don't tell you that because I expect you guys, one, to shrink your business, or two, to fire everyone that's working for you. Okay. That's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about giving you what you need so that you can create a business that supports a lifestyle that you want. We're going to hammer that, and we're going to hammer that, and we're going to hammer that. You're not here to work. You're here to create a business that supports a lifestyle that you want. Okay. How is it that we do that? Well, there's a few different ways that we do that, but I want to kind of start at the top. Right now, if I was to ask you, who do you need to hire? Like, what's your next hire? I'm pretty sure you could tell me off the top of your head. In fact, go ahead and drop it in the chat. What's the next hire you need to make? Is it an office manager? Is it a foreman? Is it a laborer? Is it a project manager? Is it an accountant or a bookkeeper? What's the next hire that you need to make? Why is it that you should know that? Well, you should know that because it's your business, right? And so right now, I take this back to manufacturing, right? Think about this. If you have a pipe, and a pipe is 1 inch in diameter, and let's just say water is meant to go in one end and out the other, right? Pipe. If there's something in the pipe, say a rock or some mud or something in the pipe, is it going to restrict the amount of water that can go through? It is. And it doesn't matter how much water you put in there, that until that rock gets loose, nothing else is going to go in there, right? It's called a choke point. So if we look at a choke point in a business, we say, what's keeping us from growing right now? What's keeping you from growing right now is the fact that you are still doing work that you shouldn't be doing. So when I say first hire, I want you to think that way. Robin says laborer. Okay, a laborer. Yep. Hermes Construction says project manager. That's great, right? What's the position that you need to hire for right now that will actually alleviate pressure off of you? Because until we alleviate that pressure, your business isn't going to grow. Here's the crazy thing. Michael says an accountant, but wondering how to determine the best one for my business. Totally different conversation, my man. But here's what you need to know. And we're going to talk about it right now. You can use this for accountants as well. Okay. Accountants, you can use it for project managers. You can use this for, if you're hiring a general manager, doesn't matter. From a day laborer to GM, this will work across the board. What you got to get clear on is what it is that you need. Because the truth is, you don't need a position. You don't. And positions, their names vary across the board. The pay varies across the board. The compensation package varies across the board. That's not what we're looking for. Okay. What we're looking for is a who that will allow us to get the results that we want. Javier, welcome. Papi Chulo, I need someone with the same energy and passion for this business that I have for it. Yep, 100%, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Nathalie, we need a miracle. Well, I don't believe in miracles. I believe in good old-fashioned hard work. Okay, so what does this look like? Okay, number one, before you do anything, get out a piece of paper and write down what you actually need. Not all the different positions, but just pick one. If it's a foreman, if it's a laborer, if it's a general manager, an accountant, whatever, pick one. Okay. And let's just say, for argument's sake, it's a foreman. Here's what you're going to list. Number one, you're going to list what are the qualifications that you need for this position, right? Do they need to have experience or not? Do they need to have any special training or not? Do they need to have any special equipment or not, right? What is all the qualifications for this position? Number two, what is it that you're looking for in that position? i.e., roles and responsibilities, right? Let's take foreman. Should be able to run a time management software. Should be able to keep guys on schedule and on task. Should be able to order materials. Should be able to project manage. Right? We're looking at all those different things. Okay. And then number three is the compensation package. What are you willing to pay for that position? And it's not just dollars. Okay. It could be time off. It could be medical and dental. It could be vision. It could be accidental insurance. It could be a take-home vehicle, right? It could be any of a number of things, but you are creating that compensation package. So we know, what do we need for the position? What are the qualifications, right? We're looking at the roles and responsibilities. And then now we're looking at, what does the compensation look like? When we take all those things together, now we've created an opportunity to find that right person. Okay. So what we're looking at now is a very specific individual who has very specific skill set and the capability to do very specific things. Right? Now, what's the next step? Some of you have done this and some of you have not. What's it worth to you? What's it worth to you? That position, foreman, general manager, project manager, what's it worth to you? Because I'll let you in on a little secret. McDonald's, Target, Starbucks, the gas station are all starting to pay as much as you used to pay for that same position. And if I'm an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid looking to get into the trades or looking to get work, do I want to work outside where it's hot, cold, where somebody's yelling at me or whatever? Do I want to work at some place that I get free coffee, free burgers, or whatever? They're asking these questions because now it's competitive. You work at Starbucks, you get a compensation package above just your regularly hourly pay. You work at McDonald's, same thing. Some of these places are offering profit share. And like, there's so many different opportunities for these guys out there. And you somehow want them to work for you, but you want them to work for you for prices that were 2015, 2017, 2019. Everything has changed. Everything has changed. The price of materials, the price of jobs, the price of labor, the price of all these different things. And so you have to be willing to look at things and say, okay, what do I need to offer to get this position filled? In other words, back to the original question, what's it worth to me? What's it worth to me to take this task off my plate so I can then focus on more revenue generating activities? Right? So we know what position we're hiring for. We understand what it's worth to us. The next thing that we look at is our hiring process itself. Now, how many of you guys have a hiring process? Go ahead and drop it in the comments. I have a hiring process. So thumbs up, thumbs down. You have one, you don't have one. What does that look like for you? Do you actually have a hiring process? And I don't mean you ask your current employees if they know anyone who's looking for work to bring them to the job site tomorrow. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about an actual hiring process. So a hiring process would be what we just talked about, pieces, right? I have a job framework that I fill out first. I have a very specific way that I reach out to qualified people. I have a very specific way that I interview them and qualify them. And I have a very specific way that I train them. Yeah. Michael does not have one. Reynaldo looks like telling people to get back to work. That's a horrible position to be in, man. Horrible position. But again, this is the reality of the situation. Okay. Expectations and standards. Start your hiring process, job framework. Who am I looking for? What are the qualifications? What am I willing to pay for them? Next step, where am I going to look for these people? Is it Indeed? Is it Facebook? Is it some other means? I don't know. What is it for you? Okay. Now you've got a list of folks that are interested. How are you qualifying them? How are you interviewing them? If they're a laborer, I wouldn't make this too complicated, right? You want to filter through the bad laborers as quickly as possible. If you're talking about a management position or above, take your time, right? Hire slow, fire fast. Make sure that you're asking the same questions every single time. Some of them may be specific to the job. Some of them may be specific to the company. But either way, you need the same qualifications. What are your core values? When you're asking somebody what's important to you, what are you looking for in a job? Have you ever gone through a difficult situation? Explain it to me and how you dealt with it. Where is it that you ultimately want your career to end up, right? There's a lot of different questions you can ask. Trust me, you can Google it. I'm not going to go through hiring questions, but I will tell you again, across the board, you want to make these as uniform as possible. If you're hiring for a management position, I highly recommend you use some type of behavior profiling. We use something called the predictive index, which allows me to send you a 3-minute set of questions. And then I get back all the information I need on you. Because the truth is, you could have 20 years sales experience and be the worst salesman ever. I wouldn't know that. All I know is your resume says 20 years sales experience. Okay. So it's not about that. It's about finding the person who at their core loves sales, or the person who at their core is all about structure and organization, or the person who at their core can manage a back office, right? That's what we're looking for. Again, we've got Contractor Plus chimed in here. He says, we gave everyone 2 general assessments, a trade-specific skills assessment and a general aptitude assessment. Posted a job on Craigslist and got 50 plus applicants. Wow. Awesome. Here's the best part. Second part. He says, hired everyone who scored more than 90% on both assessments. Think about that for a minute. What if you had 90% matches on all of your jobs with all of your people? What's the likelihood that these guys would stick around? What's the likelihood that you would have the right people? What's the likelihood that you would be able to get the results that you want out of your people? Right? Okay. Hiring process. The next piece is your training program. I consider the training program to be part of your hiring process. They're not a full-time employee until they're off on their own doing their own thing. What does your training process need to look like? Number 1, it needs to be simple and clear, right? Number 2, it needs to be consistent. I don't know what the hell is going on with the balloons. This is the weirdest thing ever. Man, all these computers have all these updates. And so I put 2 fingers up and the balloons popped up. Who knows? Whatever. If you're watching, you're probably laughing like I am right now. Hiring process. Okay. So number 1, it needs to be consistent across the board. Okay. Number 2 is you need a very simple way of determining this is the right person for the job or this is not. And if they're not, I'm getting rid of them right now because they're costing me time, money, and energy. Okay. This is the easiest way to do it. Ready? 3 phases. Phase 1. By the way, this could be a 6-minute phase or it could be a 6-month phase. 3 phases. Phase 1. Watch me do it. In other words, they're going to be trained by someone who is currently doing that job, which may be you, could be a foreman, could be somebody else, right? But they are being trained by somebody who's currently doing that job. That's phase 1. Watch me do it. Okay. Once you have an understanding of, okay, I think they understand what they're doing. Now we're moving to phase 2. Phase 2 is now do it with me. So watch me do it. Phase 1. Phase 2, do it with me. This is where, let's say you're framing a wall. They watch you frame a wall. You do it a very particular way. Make sure everything is square, plumb, all that good stuff. Put it up. Boom. You have any questions? No, we're good. All right. Let's work on this next wall together. So you work on the wall together. Guess what? You're going to notice some things that they may not be doing right or may not be doing the way that you want it done. Guess what? That's your opportunity to say, hey, not that way. Do it this way. Run through that a few times. Okay. So they've mastered, watch me do it. They've mastered, do it with me. Now you do it. Third phase. Now you do it. They pick a wall, you pick a wall, you put yours up, you go check theirs. It was good. Or, hey, you know what? This corner's not good. Hey, you know what? This support beam isn't good. Hey, you know what? This, and you change it around, right? If they can't make it through these 3 phases, there is zero likelihood that they should be hired by you. In fact, you should not hire them. Why? Because they're not doing the job that you need them to do, right? Watch me do it. Do it with me. Now you do it. That simple. Now, you're probably looking at me going, how do you teach companies to build multi-7 and 8-figure businesses with those 3 frameworks? Well, it's a little more in depth than that, but just understand that everything falls inside of those columns. Again, it could be a 6-month training process. If you're training a GM to take over the day-to-day of your business, it's going to be a longer process, but you're going to break up every single role and responsibility that they have down into those 3 columns, everything. And again, some of it might take a week or 2. Some of it might take 6 minutes. Who knows? The point is, you should not have anybody in a position that can't do it by themselves. And the only way that you can verify that they can do it by themselves is walk them through a training process. All right. We've talked about a lot of different things. Some of you are on here needing work. Next week, we'll talk more about getting more jobs. I geek out on that kind of stuff. But what I want you to understand is your people will help you grow if you have the right people. If not, they will keep you from growing. So if you're looking at your hiring and training process right now, what's one thing that you need to do to make that process better? One thing. Drop it in the comments. One thing that you need to do to make your hiring and training process better. Because again, this is a game of small gains. What's one thing that I can do today that will shift the outcome of my business tomorrow? That's all we're looking at. And listen, we could sit here talking about this for hours, Reynaldo, talking about employees that feel entitled, slack around. They feel like they're not replaceable because you've given them that feeling. I guarantee as soon as you start getting rid of folks who aren't doing the work that they should be doing, everybody else is going to want to shape up or see you later. Right? You're not in the wrong. This is your business. It will grow to wherever you want it to grow. You have to set the standard for your business. What does success look like? What does failure look like? It doesn't mean that people aren't going to screw up. They are, right? But there's a difference between messing something up and just being lazy or being entitled, right? Implement a performance action plan. Be willing to have the difficult conversations with the people who slack off. 100%, Justin. 100%. Your people will always fall to your standard, whatever that standard is. But you have to set the standard. If you don't, they will keep taking advantage of you. All right, that's all we got for you today. Again, what's one thing you need to do this week to improve your hiring and training process? Let's not only identify it, let's implement it, and let's continue to grow our businesses across the board. All right, that's all we got for you. You guys know what time it is.